Hey everybody, welcome back. It's good to have you back in the shop again, right here in the Briar Patch. We're located in beautiful downtown Central Florida. Today we're going to start a new project, something I've never worked with before, so this should be interesting. About a year ago, a young man approached me at one of our shows and asked me if I'd like to have a burl from an oak tree, and I told him sure. I haven't turned long enough to try one of these, but I took it and I've been sitting on it for about a year now. And I called a fellow wood turner. His name is Al Furtado. If you've never seen any of his videos, you have got to go in and look him up and watch his videos. He calls himself the Rebel Wood Turner. He is an artist. He is one with the wood. So if I can figure out how to put him in a link down below, I will. Of course, I'm still new at this video stuff, so we'll see if I can get that figured out. But it's Al Furtado, F-U-R-T-A-D-O, the Rebel Wood Turner. We talked for about 10 or 15 minutes. I had sent him some pictures, and looking at the pictures, he gave me some tips and made some recommendations, and we're going to go by those recommendations as close as we can, because like I said, I've never turned a burl before, and that's a new avenue for me. So I've got it chucked up on the lathe on a face plate, so let's go over to the lathe, take a look at it, and we'll start from there. See you at the lathe. Okay, we're over here at the lathe, and I've got this burl on a face plate and got it mounted on the lathe. From long point to long point, this was about 20, maybe 21 inches long, which is longer than my lathe can handle, so I had to knock these long points off. And I've got about maybe a ½ inch clearance from the burl to the bed. The next step, I think, I don't have real heavy tools. The heaviest tools that I have are easy wood tools. They're pretty stout. My other tools are very cheap Harbor Freight type tools. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with a saw and knock some of these real high points off, these knots, tumors, whatever you want to call them. I'll knock this one off and cut this one off, and try to shape some of this corner, make it a little bit more round before I start actually trying to put a tool on it. My bandsaw's it's only got a 4-inch high resaw capacity, and it's not enough to deal with this. So I can't do anything with this on the bandsaw to clean it up. So I'll just have to get a handsaw or some type of saw and try to knock some of this off. I have one area here, it sounds, I'm not sure if this is just the bark trying to come away, or if I have a crack or a defect that's running through here. So when we get to turning this, it'll definitely be time for a face shield, and I might even put the cage on here. There's a cage that works on this. I might put that on here till I get through this and find out what's underneath it. So with all that in mind, I'll do all the cleaning up and the cutting with the handsaw and everything off camera to try to save some time. This video is probably going to go into 2 parts anyway, simply because it takes me twice as long to do half as much, and we want to stay safe no matter what. The burl is going to have some absolutely fantastic character where these knots are going into it. Mr. Furtado and I spoke about that, and we're very interested in seeing what's underneath these tumors or these knots. Okay, we're back. After quite a bit of work, we got some of these predominant knots removed. Maybe it'll make it a little easier to start turning. I had to do a lot of pruning after I removed the knots because the balance was so bad I couldn't even get 200 RPM out of it. So we did some pruning and shaping to get rid of some of this heavy side. It's still a little out of balance, but I think we can start out at about 350 RPM. And so we're going to get the tool rest around here and keep it as close as possible. Like I said earlier, we're going to work right over the center post as much as possible and keep whittling on this until we get it where we can get our speed up. So I'll do that off camera, so getting everything set up, and we'll be back and we'll film some of the turning.
Ready to start turning on this. I'm going to use a round carbide easy wood tool. It's the heaviest tool that I have. The idea is to try to knock off some of the high spots, get it roughed into a kind of a round shape so that we can get our speed up. Hopefully the shaking and vibration doesn't interfere too much with the video quality. I have wood floors here in my shop, so we just have to deal with it. So we'll show some of the turning. Like I said, we're going to try to stay right over the center of the rest as much as possible. At least the center third. Stay away from the wings. We'll see what happens. So hopefully I have enough light on here for the video. We're running about 320, maybe 350 RPM. I'm going to bring up the tailstock. Get the space mask out of the way. I'm going to bring up the tailstock and put some pressure against this. Even though I've got it in a faceplate, I don't want to take a chance on ripping it loose. So we're going to put a lot of pressure on the faceplate, on the tailstock I mean, and make sure that doesn't go anywhere. Lock this down. We'll turn for a little while and then we'll check it every now and then and make sure it's still tight. And when we get down here to the foot, we want to try to turn a tenon so that we can reverse this and put it in a 4-jaw chuck to hollow out the top side. So we're going to turn some off camera in an effort to save some time. And if anything changes or anything unexpectedly happens, we'll come back and show it to you. So we'll just keep turning this, shaping it, keeping the tailstock up tight. I had originally thought about putting a cage up here, but I'm standing back off the side, and I think I'm going to be okay. Seems to be turning pretty good. I've got a new carbide cutter on here. We'll just go slow and take little bites at a time. So after we get this turned down quite a bit, and it's already balancing a lot better than it was, we'll be back and show you some more.
Okay, let's break in here for a minute and bring everybody up to date. We're making progress. This area that I thought the bark was coming off, I think that's all it was. Still have some here. You can hear the difference. It's moving. We're getting there. I'm going to bring the rest up a little closer, tighten up the tailstock, and continue on like we're going. Our goal, like I said, is to work this around and make this bottom flat and get a tenon. But in order to do that, we have been able to move our speed up. We're up to about 550 RPM now, so it is starting to balance out. We'll be back in a little while. Okay, we've got a general shape, and we've got the bottom flattened off a little bit. The next thing will be to come in here and try to form a tenon so I can reverse it and clean out the inside. I don't know how much further I want to go on the outside. I have a very deep bark inclusion here. If I try to turn this away, this is where one of the knots were, right here. If I try to turn this away and get down into the bottom of this bark inclusion, it'll take away a lot of the diameter. I'm thinking of maybe turning it just enough to clean up this top side of the knot where this knot was, then take a scraper, clean it up, and see what I think about it. I'll leave some of this natural bark and just clean it up. But next thing right now though was to get a tenon turned on the bottom so that I can reverse it and then clean this up with a scraper a little bit. We get that done, we'll be back. I know I'm not putting a lot of this on video. Hopefully when I get it a little more refined we can do that, but for the sake of time we're going to abbreviate some of this stuff. Actually, before I go any further, I just noticed this this section of bark right here is trying to come loose. I'm just about to lose it, and I really don't want to have that much come out of it. So I think I'm going to try to stabilize this with some CA. Give this a good treatment of CA all in here, and see if I can get it to go down in the, this goes down probably ½ inch. I do not want that coming out, so let's get some CA on that, and then we'll be back. Okay, we've got our tenon on the bottom, and we want to turn a little bit of a dovetail on it. So we're going to use our skew to come in here and touch it just a little bit, put just a little bit of a dovetail angle on it. Find out where I'm at here. I think we're up around close to 1,000 RPM now. That should do it. Yeah, I think that's good. Alright, let's work this a little bit, see if we can refine this area here somewhat. I don't want to take a lot off of it. It was had a lot of ovality in it, and I really don't want to take that away. I really want it to stay kind of oval shaped. So let's see. The CA glue is set up good in here. Still sounds a little weak. The worst thing that would happen is if when I start hollowing the inside out is this side was to open up and go away. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, it just does. We let the wood tell us what it wants to do. I'm going to have to be careful here on the bottom when I hollow out the inside. This is a good 3/4 of an inch thick, this spalted area, and I may try filling that before I turn it around with some shavings and some CA glue, and try to prevent that from breaking all the way through when I turn the inside. Or I could leave the bottom kind of heavy, but then I don't know how deep that actually goes. It only go as far as my finger can feel. It's only about 3/4 of an inch, but it may actually go deeper than that. Probably does. So let's take a scraper to this now and clean up the outside a little bit. This is a very unique piece of wood from me. Let's adjust this tool rest a little bit. I don't want that scraper getting caught in there and getting a bad catch. Still got a ridge right here. I want to try to work some of that out. That's better. I think at this point I've done about all I can with the tools. I think now we'll get out the 60 grit gouges and do some sanding on this, and see if we can get it ready to turn around. We'll do some sanding off camera. There's no sense in watching me sand. That's like watching grass grow, and there's better things to do than watching somebody sand. So we'll sand this off camera and maybe refine this bottom just a little bit, do a repair on this inclusion or whatever this is. It doesn't feel like it's rotted. It feels solid in there, but it's just a very deep hole. So I think we need to repair that before we try to hollow out the inside. So we get that taken care of, we'll be back. We have sanded this up through 320 grit, sanding in both directions or all directions. Let's take a little sneak preview. This is denatured alcohol. Take a little sneak preview of what it may look like when we put the finish on. We made sure that we sanded in all directions. Sometimes the grain will lay over like wheat in a wheat field, and so you have to sand back against the grain. And this has grain running in all directions because of it being a burl. It has no real set grain direction. It goes everywhere. So we had to sand accordingly. I think on the finish, I'm not sure what I want to do with it. I may use oil, Danish oil, and then wax, or I may use a spray lacquer. It's one of my favorites. And the other thing before we go, I mentioned that on the bottom, let me see if I can move this camera without making everybody sick. I don't know, is that in the frame or not? I'll probably have to move it up a little bit, maybe. How about that? Is that close? Can you see this? Okay, right here where I was talking earlier about filling that with some shavings and some CA, I've changed my mind on that. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to turn the inside, but I'm going to leave the bottom a little bit thick, maybe 5/8, 3/4 of an inch thick. And Then I'm going to have to reverse it again to take off the tenon and to refine the bottom. And some of this is going to be cut away, and it may get rid of some of this void. So some of the void will be taken care of simply by the last process in the finishing, in the cutting. So I'm going to leave that. That's part of the character of this. And after thinking about it, I don't want to fill it up and repair it. I'm going to leave it natural. It's part of the character. And I think I'm going to cut this video off at this point and make this a two-part, simply because I've spent so much time. And the other part will be cutting away the inside and the finishing of the piece. So I hope you join me for part 2 of this, and if you've enjoyed or if you're intrigued by the video, I ask that you share it. Give me a like if you would, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And that way you'll be notified when part 2 comes out, or when I upload any new videos to YouTube. That way you'll be on top of the game. You'll know when things come out. So thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great day. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be blessed, and we hope to see you soon.